I want to open with a quiet story that carries a heavy truth, a story that can bring clarity, perspective, and maybe even peace. My name is Ted, and I am 67 years old. For almost 3 decades, I gave my life to one software company. Just a few weeks ago, that company was sold to a massive Canadian corporation, a corporate giant that owns thousands of businesses across the world. When that deal was signed, our longtime CEO stepped down, and several deeply respected senior employees were suddenly gone. People I worked beside for over 25 years. People who helped build the very foundation of the company. Today, we gathered for a strange farewell celebration, a kind of corporate breakup party that felt awkward and hollow. And something hit me like a quiet thunderclap, something about how fast people disappear once they walk out the door. Most of us tie our identity to our job title. We believe we are what we do. But what struck me was not the talk about the future of the company. It was the silence about those who were just removed from it. 2 of the longest-serving employees, 2 people who delivered extraordinary performance for decades. They were let go because they did not fit the new corporate vision, not because they failed, but because the direction changed. And almost nobody mentioned their names. It was like they were erased overnight. Some people may stay quiet because of fear of losing their own paycheck or job security. But the deeper truth is even colder. Once you leave a corporate role, the system simply moves on. People become replaceable. People become invisible. According to a recent Harvard Business Review survey, over 70% of employees feel emotionally disconnected from their workplace, not because they are lazy, but because they know they are temporary pieces in a permanent machine. Life is not a race to a finish line. Life is a dance happening right now. The purpose of a dance is not the final step. The purpose is the movement, the rhythm, the experience. Yet most of us get trapped inside our roles, inside our titles, positions, and rank. We let those labels decide who we are. We confuse status with self-worth. I did that too when I was younger. I believed success was something you could collect and keep. But years taught me a different truth. What matters is how deeply you live in the moment. Every small moment becomes a thread. Together, they weave the fabric of your life. Yes, you might reach a big milestone. Yes, you might achieve something impressive. But even the greatest leaders in history are forgotten by almost everyone after a few generations. Their titles fade. Their achievements dissolve. So why do we cling so tightly to things that will not last? Every time I stand near a field of quiet cows, they wander closer, as if they want to be part of the story. They look into the camera lens with that simple curiosity that feels more honest than most humans. I love those animals because they remind me how present life is meant to be. That is why this channel is about designing Act 2. Not escaping life, but choosing it. Not chasing the next corporate ladder rung, but building a life that feels true. What really shapes our days is not some distant destination. It is how enthusiastically we live the small hours.
A 2024 Gallup workplace study showed that only 1 in 5 people feels emotionally fulfilled by their daily work. That means most people are mentally somewhere else, even while their bodies are sitting in an office chair. Real life happens in the tiny moments, the conversations, the sunlight, the quiet victories. That is where joy lives. That is where meaning grows. So many of you write to me about the mental loop, the endless replay of regrets, missed chances, and wrong turns.
The brain loves to rewind pain. It believes suffering somehow protects us. But psychology research from Stanford University shows rumination increases depression and emotional paralysis. Yet every morning you wake up with a small power, the power to shift one tiny direction. You cannot rewrite your entire past, but you can edit your next choice. Your inner world is your true universe, and that is where real change must begin. Letting go is not weakness, it is freedom. Letting go of an old identity, letting go of a false goal, letting go of a version of yourself that was built to please everyone except you. You do not need to become someone new. You need to become who you always were. Most people die still wearing the mask. They built to survive the system. But the people who stand out are the ones who lived on purpose. That has been my personal mantra ever since I started telling stories through photography. Photography became my escape from routine, from the pressure, the deadlines, and the noise. It pulled me back into the real world, the world of light, shadow, and emotion. If life is a gift, then our greatest duty is to open it. Statistically, you had about a 1 in 400 trillion chance of being born a human being, not a cow, not a tree. You are here for a reason, even if that reason is simply to experience, to feel, to love, to create, to give. That is where the real joy hides, inside service, connection, and purpose. Making even a small difference in someone else's life creates more meaning than any trophy ever could. And when that difference reaches people you will never meet, it becomes something almost sacred. That is why I tell you to focus on the present moment, the breath you are taking right now. Think carefully about what you want your Act 2 to be, not someday, but starting tomorrow. Behavioral science from MIT shows that tiny daily actions reshape identity faster than big dramatic changes. So do not wait for a perfect plan. Start with a single intentional step. Recently, my son became obsessed with strength training, with health, discipline, and self-improvement. In just a few months, his body and confidence changed, but more important, his mindset transformed. At only 14 years old, he began designing his future using artificial intelligence, using books, using goal planning. He told me he wanted to read Atomic Habits because he wanted to grow just 1% per day. Research from University College London shows that small habits repeated daily rewire the brain in about 60 days. That means change is not magic, it's momentum. When I left to film this video, he was sitting in the garage with his notebook, with his books, with a list of what he wants to learn in the next 6 to 12 months. That is what intention looks like. If a teenager can build his future, so can you. We may be forgotten by corporations, by job titles, by organizations, but we are not forgotten by the life we lived inside our own heart. When you align your daily actions with who you truly are, every morning becomes a quiet victory. Every night becomes peaceful. That is what it means to live while you are alive, not waiting, not postponing, not hiding, just being. Thank you for being part of this community. Thank you for sharing your stories. Your words matter more than you know. They helped people you will never see, and that makes you powerful. I will see you again in the next moment, in the next story. Until then, live intentionally.